Alright. Rapture becomes her. Chapter 18 and 19. Chapter 18. DJ goes to town. Wednesday morning, I decided that if I was really going to spend the next 2 weeks training for preseason, I should probably figure out if I would even, be allowed to play. So after Brian worked through his weights and stretches, I said we could quit for the day. He gave me this long look, but I wouldn't look back because I was such a bad liar. So eventually he left and I took the pickup to Home Depot to track down Jeff Patterson. Jeff Patterson works in the flooring department there, but his other job, his real job if you ask anyone including him, is coaching Red Bend football. He's been doing it for 3 years and he was assistant coach for a long while before that. He and Bill were really close when Bill was in high school, and he really helped Bill with all the scholarship stuff and getting his grades in order. He has a little mustache, and whenever he's thinking hard, he'll chew on it, sort of pull his upper lip down and gnaw on it a little. I bet he doesn't even notice when he does it. Bill and Wynn used to have a great time imitating him. He's a good guy. He doesn't yell. I like that. Sure enough, there he was in the flooring department, growing out his mustache for football season. He was helping some lady decide between 4 identical colors of carpet until finally she went away without buying anything, and he turned to me. Hey there, coach, I said. Well, hey there, DJ, what can I do for you? I took a deep breath. Coach, I want to play football for Red Bend this fall. I figured it'd be best to get it over with fast, like pulling off a band-aid. Huh, he said, probably chewing his mustache right off, but I was too busy studying the floor to see. I thought you had some scholastic problems last semester, which, if you asked me the 100 things I thought he would say, wouldn't even have made the list. Also, how did he even know? Yeah, I said, English. Because you need a clean transcript to play, you know that. Which I did know, but I guess I've forgotten. We're working on it, me and Mrs. Stokes, which wasn't a complete lie because I talked to Mom about it once and gone through the file. She said if I had got her the papers, I could turn it around. You need to work on that then, don't you? Yeah, I guess so. Okay then. Jeff turned to help a customer. But Jeff, if I did that, could I, play? I have to do some asking around. Don't know what the rules are. He turned away, smoothing his mustache, and started talking to a guy about subfloors, which would be fascinating if you had nothing else to think about for the rest of your life. Should I, keep training? I managed. Finally sounded like a real moron, I'm sure. The subfloor guy seemed to think I was anyway. Oh, yeah, and say hey to your old man. Yeah, right. It was Dad's fault I was still in all this mess. Because, you know what? I would never tell this to anyone, but all spring as the letters from Mrs. Stokes had kept coming home and I still wasn't doing anything, and Mom was so upset, I just knew in my heart that it wasn't that serious. And maybe that was because I knew Dad had done the same thing. Maybe if I lived in a family where people got through school just on their grades and their brains and stuff, maybe I could have cared more. Cared enough to pass at least, which I now had to do. So not knowing where else to go, I headed over to Red Bend Elementary School to find Mom. There were hardly any cars in the parking lot, seeing as it was the middle of summer, and the hallways had that echo schools have when there aren't any kids. There wasn't even a secretary, so I stuck my head into the principal's office, which I figured Mom would be, and sure enough, there she was typing away on her computer. Hi, I said. She jumped about 3 feet in the air. Jesus, DJ. Oops, guess I should have knocked. That's okay, she said, catching her breath. The office sure looked different. There were lacy curtains and a windowsill full of plants, and some other plants in the corners and pictures of us on the desk. the family portrait Mom made us do a couple years ago. My hair looking pretty much awful. Curtis as a little kid in a pile of footballs. Me and my heifer Roy Jordan and her first place ribbon at the 4-H fair, and one I've never seen before, Bill, and a huge black guy named Minnesota uniforms standing side by side. It was framed and everything. I picked it up. "Who's that?" I asked. Mom took it away from me in that way moms have. "It's just something Bill sent me. That's his roommate, Aaron Johnson. He's from Detroit. He's a lineman." "Bill sent it to you?" "He emailed it. I just printed it out." She shrugged like it wasn't anything, even though it was. "So," she asked, turning off her computer screen, "what's up?" I felt like I was being sort of bombarded, like I walked in on her cheating or something, which now that I've given it more thought, I guess she was. But at that moment, I just sort of shoved it all aside and said it instead. "I need to talk to Mrs. Stokes." "Oh, English," Mom said. You could tell she was flustered. And then she rallied a little and gave me a big smile and said, "That's great, DJ. How can I help?" "You could write the papers," I offered. Mom gave me that hairy eyeball she can do, and I grinned, and then we were back to being normal, like nothing had happened. "Well, Mary Stokes seemed awfully flexible when she talked to me," Mom continued. "She doesn't want you to miss basketball," which surprised me. I hadn't even realized. I don't care about volleyball, and of course, nobody knew about my football plans, and nobody except Jeff needed to. Thank you very much. Not until I knew for sure that I could play, but I was very important basketball wise. Bill got through high school because he was a starter, and he was getting a free college education too. And now that being good at sports thing was rubbing off on me too, finally. So I don't have to write anything, I asked hopefully. Mom gave me the eyeball again. We'll work something out. Which meant that I had to drive over to Mrs. Stokes' house, one of those houses I've always wanted with the garage under the bedrooms, and ring the doorbell and everything and talk to her. But here's the super weird thing. Jeff had already called her, so when I arrived she was acting like this was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to her. Now Mrs. Stokes is a very nice lady and a great teacher, but she knows about as much about football as the Heifers do. Less probably because at least they'd been watching me and Brian. It's a huge joke all her classes have with her, how much she doesn't know. "So what position are you playing?" she asked all nicely. I had to cough so I wouldn't laugh, because I could have said something like exterior flame thrower, and she would have believed me. But instead, I said I wanted to be a running back, and she sat me down in her nice yellow kitchen and got me a pop and told me her idea, which was pretty easy, seeing as it all required was me working my guts out for the rest of the summer. And she promised not to tell anyone my football plan, like it was some huge military secret or something. And I said thank you very much for everything, and I left. As I drove home, I guess I should have been thinking about how exactly I was going to spend the rest of the summer, what with preseason looming and everything, working my guts out for Mrs. Stokes. But instead, all I could think about was Mom sitting there in her air-conditioned office with her lace curtains and her plants and her computer, and I bet our farm she was writing Wind and Bill. That office, frankly, seemed more like a home than our house did, and she was there all the time, from morning until dinner, and there wasn't anyone else in the building even, just her. And so how much could she get done working by herself, besides writing emails and putting out Bill's pictures? Maybe that's all she did all day long when she wasn't looking for a real principal or doing other principal stuff. It occurred to me, pulling into our driveway, that I wasn't the only person in our family keeping secrets. Chapter 19, The Opposite of Flirting. I didn't think about Mrs. Stokes' project for the rest of the week either, if you want to know the truth, because there was so much else going on. For one thing, thinking about the fight took up some time. Talking to Brian had brought it all back, I guess you could say, and then finding out Mom was writing Win and Bill for all these months without mentioning it, not even to me. Well, it was a lot to think about. And other things were changing too. It wasn't like Brian and I were flirting or anything. It was the opposite of flirting, probably, but things were getting different. We were still running in the afternoons, which was nice, because we had a lot more wine now and it wasn't so hard running down that country road. We always take our shirts off because it was always so hot. Don't get that wrong idea. It's not, like it's a sports bar revealing on anything. At least it isn't on me. Besides, it's not fair that guys can go around without their shirts whenever they feel like it. But girls have to stay all covered up like we're nuns or something. Especially when it's as hot as it gets here in August. So, we ran along not talking too much, keeping Brian going and him keeping me. And after a while, a truck came up behind us, which doesn't seem too much where I live. And it slowed down a bit and then I heard, "What are you two doing?" I jumped a foot. Dad was leaning out the passenger window as Curtis drove. Nothing. Which wasn't true because we were running, but I sounded guilty. "You get some clothes on, you hear? I'm not running a beach party." I pulled out my t-shirt from my waistband, watching Dad adjust the rearview mirror so he could keep an eye on us. But then they drove over a hill and couldn't see us anymore, and I just tucked that t-shirt away and kept running. Brian didn't say anything, and neither did I, but I could see at the corner of my eye he was grinning. That night at dinner, Mom kind of looked at me like there was something I wasn't telling her, which there was, but I think what she thought I wasn't telling her was different from what I wasn't telling her, actually. Anyway, I blushed. Friday afternoon, when we got back from running, Smut all thrilled to see us because it had been half an hour and she started to panic. Brian asked what I was doing this weekend. I don't know, work on an English paper, I guess. Brian laughed, Romeo and Juliet and all that. Kinda. Remember back when we all had to do was draw a picture? My family with the blue line along the top for the sky, Brian grinned. Curtis used to draw these great pictures with the animal legs going in every direction, like they'd been run over or something. Mom still has one on her dresser. We grinned at that. Brian tossed me a water bottle from his trunk. "So that's what you're going to do? A picture of Romeo and Juliet in a tower and everything?" "Yup," I said, dead serious, all 16 colors of crayon. And then, because it was just such a perfect moment, the light hitting Brian's face and his hair that's so shiny even though it's short, and the barn so pretty in the sunshine, I couldn't help it. I sprayed him full in the face with my water. He let out a yell and came after me with a bottle in each hand, but I got to the hose in time and really blasted him, which would have been great, except that once he was wet. He didn't care to see how much wetter he got, and he started wrestling me for the hose, so we both were soaking, and Smut was jumping everywhere and getting mud all over us. And then he got the hose away from me and his other arm around my waist, so I couldn't get away. He just blasted me. And let me tell you, the water was cold. It comes from our well and must be like 50 degrees. And Brian must have been pretty mad because I couldn't get away, even though I was really wiggling and hollering and laughing hysterically. And right then Amber drove up. I froze. Brian got me right in the face, but I wasn't playing anymore. He saw Amber and let go of me. "Who's that?" "A friend of mine." "Amber," I called. "This is Brian Nelson." "I know who he is," she said, leaning against Laurie's escort. I turned the spigot off. Brian pulled a towel out of his trunk and started wiping off. "So I see you around?" I asked, wishing Amber would blink at least. I still wanted to say something else. Asked if maybe he wanted to go do something over the weekend. Not a date or anything like that, just something, but I couldn't. Even if Amber was just sitting right there watching us like we were some kind of laboratory experiment. Her hair all orange and everything. "Sure," he said, but he smiled at me as he pulled out. I think it was a smile. I made a show out of getting my t-shirt on, wanting to keep that smile memory a bit. I didn't think Amber would be too pleased about Brian and me goofing off together like that. So, she asked, sauntering over. Are you two doing it yet? Nope. She wasn't pleased. Come on, Emma, we were just horsing around. For your information, guys like that don't go out with girls like you. I know that, I said, trying not to get mad. So you're thinking about it then. Amber, this is what she does. We don't argue much about when we really do it really sucks. It was hot. We were goofing off. Can we forget about it, please? Because you were all over him. I tried to take a deep breath. I was not. Now that I think about it, he probably would do it with you. But he'd tell everyone about it afterward, and they all laughed whenever they saw you. Shut up. Now I was getting mad. What, you think I'm not telling the truth? She asked innocently. Just shut up. You're really hot for him, aren't you? That tight little butt and those strong arms. Is that why you never told me about him? Are you having sleepovers? If you don't shut up, I'm going to punch you. I took a step towards her. Calm down already. Forget about it. Let's go out. I walked towards the house. Come on, we'll go to the movies or something. I've got Bear. Go to him. I ain't even turned around. Jeez, I'm sorry. There was no way on earth I was getting into that car. Not without strangling her face, I slammed the door behind me. After a while, I heard her car start up, so I guess she drove away with her Bear. Boy, oh boy, was I mad. I was so mad that if I'd been a different sort of person, I'd have kicked Smut or punched Curtis with either of them deserved. Neither of them deserved. Plus, Curtis would punch me back. I ended up in the hayloft punching the hay bales instead, which cut my hands all up and got me over being mad pretty fast. So then I just sat there, ripping up hay seeds and thinking what a jerk Amber was, about how she made fun of everyone in the world, but no one could make fun of her, how she didn't know anything about boys anyway, because she never even had a boyfriend, not counting this kid, and that she used to arm wrestle until he moved away. Not that I'm the world's biggest expert on boys, which is probably clear, seeing that as I've written a million pages already, and haven't mentioned them at all in that way. But at least I've gone out with a couple, well, one. If you call seeing a movie your freshman year with your big brother and his girlfriend and his friend Troy Lundstrom going out. But Troy, well, it's not like our family is a bunch of rocket scientists or anything, but we are compared to him. Then last year, I didn't really hang out with anyone, especially after quitting basketball. I didn't even go to the prom because Amber didn't want to go with any guys from Red Bend, and besides, I didn't have a dress or anything. So instead, we hung out in my room with a bottle of schnapps she stole it from work, and we drank it all and I threw up. And I had to get up the next morning to milk, and I threw up again in the manure gutter. And if I lived my entire life without seeing another bottle of schnapps, that would be absolutely fine with me. So I just want to make it clear that it's not like I don't like guys, I do. And I've had a boyfriend, if that's what you want to call, Troy Lundstrom, for a couple hours at least. But I didn't have one at the present moment. And I wish someone like Brian's Oprah mom, who was good at asking questions, would ask Amber why she needed to be such a jerk and say all those things just to make me mad and hurt my feelings. Then what would I say back? Why did the things she said hurt so much? Because it's not like Amber hasn't talked like that a million times before, and most of the time it makes me laugh. If she said it about Brian the week before, it probably wouldn't have bothered me at all. I probably would have agreed with her even. Guys like Brian, they don't go for girls basketball starters who also know about dairy farming. They go for cute short girls with lots of hair and lots of makeup and long fingernails, and it's absolutely not one thing on that list that applies to me. So why did it make me so mad now? Because I guess I pretty much like Brian. I sure didn't want to think about it if you haven't noticed, but I liked him a lot. I liked being around him. I had friends in school, and I had Amber, but I never felt this way before, of wanting to be with someone all the time and talk to him and run with him in my sports bra. I didn't mind that last part one bit. But Brian, as Amber explained, wasn't for me. Girls like me dated tackles and guards, guys who probably lettered but wouldn't get scholarships, and would go to local colleges, maybe, and end up working in hardware stores. And you know I never minded that. I was okay with that because I lived with a couple star players and watched girls climb all over them, and I didn't like those girls at all. But now it made me sick to my stomach, the thought that I was one of those girls too. But I didn't like Brian because he was quarterback. I liked him even though he was a quarterback, which is a big difference that no one would understand but me. Certainly not Amber. Excuse me. She could make fun of Brian all she wanted, but I had more conversations with him, real conversations about real subjects, in 1 week than I had with Amber all the time we've been friends. At least with Brian, I was thinking about feelings, not just my feelings, but other people's feelings too, which Amber never does. Anyway, now I was stuck home on Friday night with no one to talk to but Smut, and figuring out all the stuff about Brian, about how I felt and everything, just made me feel 10 times worse. All that pattern I had around me from my great idea to play football was gone. So much had happened over the week. All these revelations and lies and talks and workouts and our hair problems. All this liking Brian business that it had just torn away. And right now, I really needed some of that pattern back.